With us now is Dan Senor, former advisor to House Speaker Paul Ryan. He has been talking to Republican members of Congress since the Mueller firing story broke. Dan, always good to see you.
Good morning, Gayle.
So I'm wondering, are the Republicans saying that this is a bombshell report? What are they saying?
It's another example. I've spoken around last night speaking to Republican members of Congress to get a handle on what was going on the immigration reform proposal. And then this story popped. Right. It's like, forget about the immigration proposal. There's this kind of a big deal. I was curious about whether or not the story came out because there is another effort by the White House to contain something Trump is about to do, that this was almost like a shot being fired because they were worried about that he was going to do something. And the impression I got was, no, this story was probably in the works for months. It's kind of dated. However, it is another example of the lengths that the senior levels of this administration go to contain the president from his worst instincts. You're seeing it with the DOJ pressure right now on congressional Republicans on Nunes about releasing that memo that would be problematic. This example, you know, McGahn, possibly Kelly. Others.
Are they stunned to hear, Dan, that he wanted to do that?
It's extremely worrisome that he wanted to do it. But since the firing of Comey, it does seem that the infrastructure around him protects him from his worst instincts.
In terms of the Republican leadership, they've supported this president a lot on certain things, went farther than some might have thought. But on the question of Mueller, they have not gone as far as the president has. He has raised questions about him. They have said, no, he's an honest guy doing an honest job. Is that break between the president and congressional leadership, is that in evidence here on this question of firing Mueller?
Yeah, I still believe that there's sort of like a fort around Mueller that congressional Republicans, at least congressional Republican leadership, are prepared to defend. Now, again, they will say, you know, good news, bad news. Bad news is he was considering this. The good news is, since the firing of Comey, there's another example after example of at least him being responsive to the people around him and not letting him do these things.
Let's check quickly in on that immigration question. The White House has put out a plan. It has a path to citizenship for 1.8 million DACA eligible recipients, $25 billion for the border wall, and extended family chain migration, and end the visa lottery program. That's the White House offering. How's it being received?
I think it was a very deft, I mean, I don't agree with everything in the proposal, but I think it was a deftly drafted piece of legislation because it basically far exceeds on DACA anything that, you know, the critics of the administration's immigration policy thought he would go. He goes 2.5 times the current DACA permit holders, all these people who are eligible but never registered. So I think it makes it harder for moderate Republicans like Susan Collins, Lisa Murkowski, Jeff Flake to vote against it, and red state Democrats, Manchin, Heidkamp, Donnelly. I mean, it also I think it caught them flat-footed. So I think there is the potential to build this coalition. I think the risk is with the immigration hardliners. I mean, last night I was hearing and seeing those from the immigration restrictionist community saying, you know, calling the White House and calling conservative Republican members of Congress saying, wait a minute, we're going beyond. It's one thing if you want to do a clean trade, you know, some kind of path to legal status for the current DACA recipients in return for a border wall. Okay, we can get our arms around that. But you're going beyond that. And it's basically amnesty. So I think them holding the hardline Republican immigration restrictionists in check is essential, you know, to holding this coalition together, and it's going to be challenging.
Dan Senor, thank you so much.
Good to be with you guys.